So hello everybody, welcome to this reading that I'm doing for the Pisces full moon, which is on Monday. Depending on where you are in the world, I will actually put in the information box below the timing GMT, because I tend to go on that because people are in different parts of the world that tend to watch my readings or my messages from spirit. So I'm doing something a little bit different this month. So just thank you to those of you that have sent me healing and well wishes after recovering from illness. So I haven't been able to put readings up due to that. But with my recovery now well on its way, because it's all about participating in your healing and not just thinking that you don't have to do anything with it. You have to actually be physically present with it. Is that I have definitely got renewed energy through spirit and with spirit to do more of my readings and my healing work, but it's mostly to do with teaching work. So they want to come through around the energies of this Pisces full moon, because what I've really picked up with it over the last few days is it's actually a very supportive energy, but to some people this might be showing up in a way that it feels personal. And the message I kept getting with this moon is that the energies that are coming up around it for clearing, because full moons are always about clearing out cycles. So this moon in particular, Pisces, is a water sign. It's very emotional. It's very deeply spiritual. It's connected to things on a very transcendental level. It can merge, hence the water. And Pisces can sometimes not know where someone else starts and it ends. But the beautiful energy of Pisces is that it's gentle, it's soft, and I mean that in a very complimentary way. It's empathic. It thinks about other people and other things, often to the detriment of itself. It's in love with the idea of love. So Pisces presents definitely a strong connection to the emotional realms, but also to the spiritual realms. So this reading is really a way to connect with spirit and to do a collective read and to see what's going on right now with these energies, how we can encompass them, how we can work with them. So what I was hearing around this moon from spirit is that this moon energy is helping certain individuals to unblock their emotional channels, but it's a bit like, unplugging, releasing a blockage in a pipe. So where people may have felt emotionally stunted, blocked, possibly numbed out, this moon is bringing a wave of strong feeling, allowing you to close off an old emotional cycle. It could be karmic. It is a karmic cycle closing as well. Where that is for you personally and individually, I can't say, because we're all different, and it's about acknowledging that and celebrating that. But this is about understanding that there's an opportunity, there's a portal of energy, a push from the energies with spirit, with the universe, with the energies that flow here on our planet, that will be helping you to unblock this. So if, say, and some of these energies could quite possibly be collective energies that you have absorbed through your empathy, through your kindness, on a unconscious level. So you're unaware that you were absorbing things. So you might have spent time with somebody who is really struggling and you've absorbed a lot of their energy coming away, worrying, trying to take that pressure off them, but you haven't cleared your own energy. So see this Piscean full moon, full moons can always be very energetically emotional, but what Spirit was showing me that it's not personal. A lot of the energies that you will see leaving quite possibly will not be yours. There'll be things that you will have absorbed over this last 18 months. So utilize it. Where people may struggle is where they don't like going there. So if you are somebody who is very emotionally disconnected, ambivalent, or how can I say it, not blocked, but you don't want to go there, this moon is going to bring up some heightened feelings for you that just want to be seen, acknowledged and felt, and they won't stick around for long. But it's almost like we don't learn what we can't envisage and assimilate with our senses. So if we just constantly mentally assimilate or understand something, it's almost like our body, the lesson hasn't integrated fully into all our energetic bodies. So again, this might be challenging if you are around somebody who is emotionally unavailable and doesn't want to go there. It might heighten this up at the moment. So what I've done is I've used the Isis cards because she's the goddess of transformation, very scorpionic energy, but she's also very transformative. So I always get really good messages with these cards. Sorry, my chest is still healing, so there will be a little bit of coughing going on there, so apologies, but it is what it is. I'm also using Colette Baron Reid's Wisdom of Avalon cards because for some reason the tarot did not want to, it just wasn't sitting right with me, and also Caroline Myce's archetype cards. So these are going to bring through what archetypes we could be seeing. Now remember, this is a collective read, it's not a personal reading. So this is going to shine some light on what energies could be presenting out there that we could also be feeling internally as well, because as above, so below. I always say what goes on in the collective does happen in our own lives on some front as well. So I have pulled these cards as Spirit have directed me. So I'm going to start with the Isis card. So here we have the Life Restored card. So Priestess of the Phoenix. So this is very much like a card of weaving your own magic. So the age of Pisces is the end of a cycle. It was very much based upon self-reflection, sometimes to the detriment of our own. It was the awakening of spirituality on a very physical level on our planet. So it asked people to delve into what they were buying, how they were relating. It was very much about going back into childhood wounds, therapy, self-reflection, a lot of body practices like the awakening of things like yoga, other practices that help us to move energy through our bodies. But the shadow side of Pisces can get stuck there. So the symbol of Pisces is the fish, and it's known as a very lucky symbol in Chinese, I want to call it mythology, but I'm sure that's not what they say in China, but symbology, that, it symbolises wealth. But you see, the fish has got to move, it's got to move in clean waters. So if you think about this, if we stay in that old story of what happened to us when we were younger and why a person did what we did, and we don't graduate from that by creating our own life, by actualizing and realizing that we are not our parents or our guardians, we are our own entity, we don't move on. So this is very much like the phoenix rising from the ashes card. But I have to say, when I tune into this card, it feels very much like it's not collectively at that point yet. We're still purging. We are still purging a lot on this planet collectively at the moment. And what this is calling is letting those things burn away, just letting them drop, that are part of that old story, but are part of that old age. I mentioned the other day in a video that I did in my group, because these videos tend to go straight into my Facebook group, which is where I'm a lot more on than YouTube, I suppose. But hopefully that's going to change now for the rest of the year, is that, this divide and conquer is one of these old, almost like behavioural applications that institutions, it's old mind programming, it's a way to keep people from being free. And look, I could sit here with you and go through all the stories of where that originates from. There's a certain point, yes, it's good to know things, but then you have to utilise that as a platform to launch from, so you don't stay stuck in it, because that's where you get stuck in kind of heavy dense energy, which doesn't create movement. And a big part of this is just acknowledging that working in the light and being in the light and being of the light involves going against all this old programming of the divide and conquer and separation. And that means the behaviours and the actions that we take towards each other. So a big lesson with this whole pandemic has been that all of a sudden people are questioning other people's medical statuses and then basing a whole decision on what they think about that person, just because they have a difference of decision-making processes, when actually, number one, it's got nothing to do with anybody else. Also, everybody's now becoming an expert, and if again, can you see where these stories start to go into this? And it's an old method to keep people stuck, and it just, it's about becoming wise and knowing you don't have to go down that road. And now what I would say is, if you're ever in doubt about things and how you operate, because to self-reflect is a very healthy thing to do, because it's where we go into personal responsibility, because we have the ability to reflect on our actions and our words and our behaviours in a way where we can look at, was that the right thing to do? How can I change that? How can I do better? But it's also very much about knowing about how to be present and learning and growing. I would always say, well, if you're worried about an agenda, does that person have an agenda? Have I had an agenda with that? You can really bring it down to the basics, which is, did that help, or was it about somebody having to be right? And Spirit was just saying that to me today, because I was like, well, because a lot of us that are very intuitively connected, our senses are heightened. They have been maybe from a young age, through trauma, maybe through spiritual development. Whatever way that we've got there, is that we can feel that energy being sent our way by people, and it's not because anybody wants to make us paranoid, it's just to be aware. It's there for a reason. You've got that sense heightened from a reason. It's there to use it, to utilize it. So this is the fundamental message here from Isis, is that this is about a new age that we are stepping into, but we're still burning away the old programming collectively, to understand how empowered that we can actually be. Because the energy, the archetypal energy of transformation with Scorpio is it starts as a scorpion, then it moves into the snake, which is always a symbol of healing, so it kind of sheds its skin. Then from the snake, it then moves into, I always forget this, it rises as the phoenix in moving into the eagle. So it goes through all its learning. So it bats off the scorpion, protects itself from danger. And when it's ready to move on, this is just the archetypal journey of Scorpio in astrology, is we all go through periods of life where we'll shed a skin. So some of us, especially people who have Scorpio in their chart, will go through so many different lives within a life. We're almost like, well, they did this job and then they had a massive career change, and then that chapter of their life ended, and then they had a completely different, so it might even be like they've lived in loads of different places with different lives, even maybe more than one serious marriage or relationship. So they go through all these different massive shedding of their skins, and a big part of that is their journey to learn to be able to rebirth, because that's the energy of Scorpio, to transform and rebirth. That's why it goes through some very challenging lessons, because it's not easy to do that in a human body. It's quite difficult because we've got the physical to deal with, and the people and the emotions and the change. But then the eagle asks us to see a bird's eye view of what's happened. So not to personalise it, to go, well, why did this happen to me, even though that's part of the journey, but actually to look back and go, I understand what was the fundamental lesson of that experience I just went through. And that's almost like the line gets drawn and Scorpio can move on. So that's a little bit like what's going on here with this life restored card. But also it's a reassurance from the energies that walk with us, so the angels, our guides, which is that life is to be restored and will be restored. It's fundamentally one of the universal laws of life. So whatever we think is going on the physical here on the earth, that can't stop. Nothing can stop universal law. It just can't. So that's the Isis card. So I'm just going to put that aside. Right. So the way that I've done this is I've asked here, the first two cards, I've asked what's going on right now, and a bit like a Celtic cross reading. This is quite interesting actually. But what cross is it? Okay, this is so fascinating actually, these cards. I understand now why they've asked for this. So what's happening with this full moon is our relationship to our feelings and emotions. Are we actually in touch with them? Are we grounded in a place where we can receive and accept what we feel without being absolutely overrun or over controlled by our emotions? And this is definitely a lesson that many people have come down here to master. Now, the card that crosses it, whether it's for good or bad, is an interpretation, but I'm just saying part of this journey is the communication card. So this is very much like, well, what are we telling ourselves? But also what I'm hearing with this is what is ours and what is not ours. And I think what's happening around this Pisces full moon collectively is we're learning that we have so many more senses. We're multi-sensory beings. We're not just people with 5 senses. We've got such a strong intuitive sense that we all have. We're not special just because we can access it. That just happens to be our path. Like somebody wants to be a nurse, or they want to be a beautician, or they want to be a bricklayer, so they train. An intuitive teacher, a person like myself, I have trained with people. I've invested a lot of time, energy and money because it was part of my path to do that. I was guided to do it. So, but the partnership card is asking us to look at how we communicate with ourselves, but also how we communicate with others. Are we honest with others about how we feel, even when they've hurt us? Or do we run away and not deal with it? A bit like Pisces will be the fish, will swim away because we won't like the confrontation. But also, Spirit are also saying to me here that if you have ever actually spoken up to another person that you love or you care about, and you've shared your feelings and been rejected because of whatever process they were going through, that they could not be present or truthful with you as well because of their issues, is that Spirit is saying that a lot of this energy is clearing, because they're saying that a lot of people that work with energy and the light and who are empathic almost take on board things that aren't their own. So there's an opportunity here around this full moon to release this, and it might even mean that you don't even know how to release it, but that you just say, you connect with prayer and ask for maybe the heavier energies that you may have been feeling, or you might not have felt a bit like yourself, and you're carrying energies that aren't yours and you're not even aware of it. And Spirit is saying, let them take this away, because there's also an element here for some people where the communication that they said to themselves after this failed acknowledgement of their feelings from another person in a non-reciprocal relationship was to teach them to break the spell and the cycle. And actually there's a lot of spells out there at the moment, as Caroline Myce talks about spell casting. And again, it's another way that, you know, programming and how we can believe something, or we not believe, but we can buy into something that just isn't true. There's a lot of lies and deception being uncovered, and that's going to continue. It's going to continue for a while, because it's got to come up and be cleared. But also what Spirit wants to say is, you know, well done for speaking up, even if the result or the situation that occurred afterwards ended up being not what you thought it was, and it was painful. You know, that relationship broke down, whether it was love or work or friendship. That person was never meant to stay on your path, because this card here for me, this partnership card, is clearing. There's a pathway opening up, and it's a bit fuzzy in the background. You probably can't see this from where the card is, but it's a little bit fuzzy in the background. But it's almost like those people, that there's a healing around those situations that maybe you've carried for too long. Is that, you know, everybody tries to do the best that they can, but some people don't have the tools to be in a healthy relationship because they've experienced modeled relationships that are toxic. They're toxic, they come from a toxic background, they haven't taken personal responsibility. I think when you get into your adult years, there comes a point where you have to draw a line with bad behaviour, spiritual or non-spiritual. It's, you know, the Spirit are all about respecting our boundaries, just like we respect each other. But also I'm hearing that if this relationship didn't survive, it was because you were probably growing faster than the other person, and the other person didn't want they just didn't want to grow. They want the safety of monotony and almost boredom, because they'd rather be around a false sense of security over actually growing and being uncomfortable, which is ultimately, it will bring you to joy anyway, because connection is something that cannot be bought. It doesn't matter how much money or resources you have, you cannot make something happen in the physical if you don't have the energetic vibration and the right energies there in the environment. So it's a bit like, you know, going and being on a dating website and constantly just dating people and trying to like put everything right when the vibrational match of the two people just isn't right. You cannot buy that. It's something that only, because energy doesn't lie, it just rocks up to tell you the truth. So this is just showing this partnership to self here and emotions, and how we deal with and relate to our emotions, but also how we communicate these relations out there in the world. And I think this is what we're seeing, and we have been seeing for quite some time, is this inability for people to respect a difference in opinions. And again, partnership is coming together. You know, feelings and emotions, yes, they can be heightened and they can be passionate, because maybe we've had a personal experience which really impacts what our feelings are. It's behind, it's the story that's actually steering the feelings and emotions, and some of it can be things that we haven't given love to and support to through ourselves, and that's impacting how we relate to others, because we've got unfinished business. So I know this sounds quite personal, how they've brought this message out, but I have to say this is very much linked to what's going on here. And it's been really heightened now, this Pisces energy, which is, you know, it's not about me, myself and I, it's about us, and we all, what we're putting out there and what we contribute out there into the world energetically, how we turn up affects our communities and it affects our relationships. Right, so I asked, what are we letting go of? So this is the past card. So it's not a typical Celtic cross reading, guys. It was just what they wanted to bring out. Okay, so interestingly enough, we've got the fear card upside down. So this is that lots of repressed fear is collectively going. So it's why a lot of people are going to be feeling emotional, because they will be picking up on the collective consciousness. But also the creative projects card is here. So things that are not part of our path now moving forward, we'll be letting go of. So it could be that maybe you've had lots of projects over the, you know, the last few months or years that you've been hoping to get off, you know, started, and you're now realizing that it's time to move on. And it's interesting actually, because often, and I've seen this even in my own life, where spirit will give me a project and then I don't act on it, and then I see somebody else has done it out there, which is brilliant. So it's almost like they drop creative bubbles down to people, and people collect them, whether it be in music or writing or teaching or designing, whatever it is that you do. This is why they say, you know, those that really act on it, they go for it because they're not in this fear. And what Spirit is saying, there will always be an infinite availability of creative projects, but what they're saying is it's time now to let go of certain things, because the energy is just so fast and furious now, in a good way, that it's there to be utilised in order to bring in projects that you can't yet see. Excuse me. So that's the past. Right, so the crowning card of the reading. So this is the overriding energy. If I can pick it up with my nails. Sorry guys, I've got to do it this way. Oh, that's lovely. So this is Spirit reminding us that we are protected from harm. We are protected from harm. And again, it's being in touch with our spiritual principles of understanding that nobody goes before their time, even though, however tragic it is, there are a lot of, when we go and we connect with spirit and spiritual teaching, they will talk to us about what happens. They can connect, we can ask, we can go to spirit school, we can learn about, you know, all of these principles. But it's also, if we step back into this, we've got to ask, well, what have we been absorbing, and who have we been around that ultimately has an agenda? Because, I mean, of course, it's different having goals and objectives, because wanting to help and wanting to bring positive change isn't an agenda, it's a goal, it's a collective goal. An agenda for me is a bit like a running script underneath that is hidden, it's not transparent, and it's why when we're around people and things that don't feel right, what it is our energetic body is telling us that something's been hidden from view, but we can't physically see it. So what can happen is the mind and the heart can go through this almost dance of guessing and second guessing. The thing is that our intuition, which is just all encompassing, knew from the offset something just wasn't quite right. So that's a reminder to say we are protected no matter what we're feeling in the moment. It will pass, that we're not alone, and if we are feeling alone, the best thing that we can do to feel close to spirit and our loved ones in spirit, if we're missing them, is we can go and sit in nature, because they're saying that's the easiest way that they can contact us and we can feel that sense of connection again. Now it's great, we can sit in a room that's got beautiful music on and we can meditate and doing it that way, but actually they're saying the quickest way, if you really feel like you are feeling alone, is to go out into nature. And because what it does is it gets you present, and you start to connect in with your senses, so you slow down. And then the way that spiritual connection works through the senses is when our nervous system is calmed, and also when we are in a receptive state, we can tune into that vibration, because that's the vibration that they're on. Okay, so now I think this is the grounding card. It's something like that anyway. Well, or what we're being reminded of is, what I'm hearing is beauty, because, and there's a butterfly on this card, which is always a symbol of transformation. So we're being reminded to tap back into what is beautiful in the world, because there's been too much focus on what's not right in the world, what's wrong, what's separating us, what we don't agree on. And it's our job collectively to go back into, tapped into what we have right in front of us that's beautiful, which is that element of gratitude for what we have. Like, some people don't have their health right now. You know, some people struggle to get food on the table, but they will be thankful for the fact that they've got their children with them and they can play with them every day and take them to school, and that they've got their health. You know, everybody is struggling with something in their life at some point, whether it's self-esteem, confidence, their ability to create and want to contribute to society, and that holds them back. You know, it can be a mental or emotional aspect of life. It doesn't always have to be a survival need. But what Spirit is saying is that even when it feels, that the word I'm hearing is antidotal, but they're saying, you know, even when it feels counterintuitive, so the last thing that we should be doing is painting or drawing or writing. They're saying this is really the secret to switching our energy from this energy to this. It's all about the energy, always is, okay? So I asked her what's coming up in the near future. This is interesting. So we got the King. So this is the card of the authority. Man, authority, male sexual energy, things pertaining to the law and justice. So the King is, so it's interesting because the King archetype and the Queen archetype is not something somebody can become. I love this. It's the way that Caroline Myss talks about it. So I always remember her saying about the Queen archetype, and she said, you know, you either have it or you don't. You're born with it. You're born with this archetype. I mean, you can absolutely hold that energy. You can almost mimic it. You can utilize it temporarily, but not everybody is born with this energy of the King or the Queen, whether they're male or, you know, whatever. They don't have a gender. It's all to do with energy. We all have male and feminine energy. Even people that feel that they don't connect to one, they will move in and out of feeling certain ways. They'll have receptive times. They'll have times where they'll be bossing it out, you know, whether that's in a female form or a male form. They're fluid, so they'll utilize both, which is quite interesting, because what I'm hearing there as well is that sometimes at the same time is what I'm hearing, which is fascinating because I didn't even think about it that way before. There you go. So collectively, if we think about this, we're going to be hearing truths coming to light. Also, the possibility here, and I don't know why I'm hearing this, but more masculine whistleblowers coming out about things that have happened, that they just can't, these particular people, these divine masculine energies, they just can't live with themselves if they don't speak out, because they feel it's affecting the environment, or that it's affecting children, or vulnerable, or medical. I feel there's going to be a lot coming out of medical here, but it's also about listening to your own authority and not what the main narrative is about out there, or establishments. Just because a government says something is so doesn't mean it's always in the best interests of people. Because and this is just something I've always felt for many years here in the UK, is that all the politicians here are completely out of touch with real society. They have no idea what it's like for somebody to work as a single parent and try to get the children to school, and so there's a lack of translation of policies into real life from their system, because they're completely out of touch. And I think there's going to be more and more surfacing to highlight this, and there's a lot of lessons coming for our politicians, and professionally they're going to be tested beyond what they're capable of, because a lot of them they're not coming from a place which is to serve the masses. It's just to keep, it's all about the money is what I'm hearing, and that's going to start coming out a lot more as well. But I feel like there's divine masculine energies that are going to step up, that are ready to step up, and I'm seeing one particular person who is linked to the tech industry as well, that is possibly going to make a switch over from that into more of a I don't want to say philanthropist, because I feel like new politics are going to be a mix of fixing all the mess that's been left behind over the last 150 years to a different system. But some of us might not even see that in our lifetime, but it's what we are contributing to in what we're doing on our spiritual path, being connected to spirit. There is a social responsibility aspect now on the spiritual path. It's not just about, and it could be, you know, for some people it could be that they're sending Reiki every day at home to some of our leaders and some you know, out there into these establishments and into these places, and it can make a difference, believe you me. I've physically experienced it myself, where I've worked in places and where you can switch the energy for people that you're around, even when they're very powerful, by sending light and being light in that physical space, in that environment. But I'm also hearing here that even like in the UK, because I got this message in February that something was going to happen with Boris Johnson, and nothing physically came out of it, but I felt like in February he had this fork moment in the road to take a different path, and he didn't take it, and it was who was around him influencing him at that time. But again, what Spirit is saying is all is not lost. It's never lost. There's always a course correction, because energy is neutral. It will always try to bring everything back into balance. That's what I'm hearing. Right, so what is this card, Spirit? Because I've forgotten what this one is now. Oh, this was like what's going on that we can't see. So that's the King energy. So we got the Horse, accepting help from another and delegating authority. So what this is basically saying is there are things going on behind the scenes energetically that we can't see. But also what Spirit is saying is that many of us are not asking for help from above. We're still trying to do a lot from the physical, and it's a pattern we've got to break. We've got to stop thinking that we are, you know, selfish, or we're taking energy, or we're moving our guides or our angels from places. What they're saying is it helps them to connect their energy with us more. And the Horse is such a majestic, I even think horses are very graceful, but it's a powerful animal. So they're saying this is where our power lies, is to connect more with the light that maybe is available to us more than what we realise, and to bring that down into our lives, into our homes, into our environments. They're saying it's not always about, they're saying just don't forget this facet of just allowing the light to come into your life. A lot of people associate it with being flawed, and sometimes when you're getting an upgrade you can feel absolutely knackered. Like I get that with the Schumann resonance. When it goes off the charts, I can feel it. I've had that for many years. I've just sensed the energies on the earth all the time. And actually what Spirit is saying is that's why it's really good to be around trees and walk through the forest, because what it will do is it can help you to ground that energy through your body and out, because it always benefits you. It always upgrades you on some front. But you've got to work with it, not be stuck thinking, oh, I feel like this, and then nothing, and then you kind of try to forget about it. Whereas Spirit is saying we've got to bring it down, we've got to harness it. So this, you know, this is why like people, you know, even sat at home sending Reiki where it needs to go out, where there's been prayer circles or healing circles, because people always generate more energy in a group. That a lot of that was disbanded last year, but what Spirit is saying is there was a lot of light workers that knew that, and they would carry on Zoom. They would carry on. I mean, I kept doing a lot of readings last year because I got told it was just, you've got to put light out there and send light. And I was out of work for months because I was meant to be out of work for months. and it was just send light, hold light, give light, support. But what they're saying now is the adjustment is being made around this time, not just only with this moon, but with the energies going towards the end of the year, which is we have to put that light back in. We have to replenish, and we have to restore. And I think this is a massive energy around this moon, as well as we've got to restore ourselves for what's to come, for the next shift. So these are the outcome cards. So we've got the movement card. So this is not saying that it's going to come out. I'm going to move these away actually, so I can just show you these outcome cards together. So the movement card is not right now. The movement card is what's coming up after this full moon. So there's going to be a shift. Physical health, grounding and foundation. Again, shifting our physical bodies. So yes, this is interesting. I'm not surprised the nourishment card has come out. So the cow says, so sorry, we've got the earth fairy. Apologies, I'm probably not telling you the names of these cards, but I'm just totally tuned into the energy with them. The earth fairy is how we physically ground ourselves and how we treat our physical bodies. So there's going to be an upgrade after this new moon, and we're going to be asked to cleanse. So Pisces being a water energy, you know, what works really well is almost like the opposite energy of fire. I'm seeing fire, light and water working really well together. So it's a bit like when we go into the sauna to warm up our lungs, and it's great for cell regeneration. It's known for this. So that's a really good example of fire and water, because I'm looking at a traditional sauna, but you know, the steam helps to cleanse and release and relax, and the heat also is great at that, especially in the winter time. So we've got the cow, which is nourishment, abundance, asking and receiving. So more the bull than the cow is the sign of Taurus, and you know, I'm a Taurus and we're very good at the physical stuff. So I'm very good at just, you know, like my house is super organized at the moment because I've been off. We're really good at the physical stuff. We're builders. We're great at keeping a strong foundation. And a lot of Taurians, people think that we don't need help because we're the last sign to ask for help. We just get on with it. We're a bit like a bull is a super strong animal, and we just get on with it, and we build up our strength. We eat well, sometimes to our own detriment because we like our food, but we know what we need to keep that sustenance. But again, I'm going to point out here with this message, there's a reason I've told you about this, because for those of us out there who are the givers, who are, you know, the healers, the people that come to us that need reassurance and help, there is a movement now out of that where people have to do that for themselves now. And I know I'm sounding a bit harsh, but the movement is that your physical health and your grounding is more important in this phase. Your nourishment has to be given back to yourself first. There's the nod to the water there, but there's also about what we're putting into our bodies, the limitations of toxins and chemicals, especially as we grow in light, as we grow in connection to spirit. We cannot tolerate chemicals and toxins, you know, even what we put on our skin. I've used organic products since I was in my 20s, and some of them were a lot more expensive. I just used to buy less. I've used non-toxic cleaning chemicals where I could, with access. For years, you know, people would just laugh at me thinking, why are you doing this? And now it's just normal for people to do that. And I think if you are putting it onto the biggest organ, which is your skin absorbs that. Okay, what is it? 80, 90%, 75%, sorry, I don't know if the figures are right, of our bodies are water. So everything gets absorbed, guys. But also, as we nourish ourselves, we also nourish Mother Earth. Because what we're doing is, again, I said this in my last video with spirit, that, you know, on the spiritual path, it's not just going, oh, I do yoga and I don't eat animals, but then you're an absolute complete you know what in your personal life. you go around creating chaos, you don't take any personal responsibility. I mean, there are people out there that actually, they have a public persona on social media, but we don't know what they're like in their personal lives. I mean, it's none of my business, I know that, but I have personally witnessed people that spiritually teach who are an absolute nightmare in their personal lives. They go around borrowing money, they do a runner when people say things to them they don't like. Their actual behaviours on the ground do not match the principles that they so-called teach. They're not walking the talk. And the thing is, those masks sooner or later come out, because you always have to face yourself sooner or later. So what Spirit is saying here is our movement is not into self-centeredness, it's into self-care, which is self-respect. So if you struggle with putting yourself first, you've had a pattern with codependency in the past, see it that as you are kind to yourself, because that was always from a misplaced sense of wanting to help other people, it's coming from a good place, but you just weren't shown how to do it. Nobody said to you, you were important enough that you had to come first and to give from that place of having something to offer in the first place, is to see that as you nurture yourself, you nurture Mother Earth. Because how we vibrate and how our energy is on the earth affects Mother Earth now. You'd be surprised how much everything affects the water, the weather patterns, what we're breathing out, what we're putting out there into the world. There's so much more, I think, that's yet to be discovered about this. But this is the message, which is that we're going into a place of much more kindness to ourselves if we just let this cleanse happen, this purge happen, this next level of the purge, or whatever you want to call it, this Pisces full moon, and we step into a place of nourishment, not only for ourselves but to Mother Earth. So what we're choosing, just how we're feeling about ourselves, because how we feel about ourselves affects our decision making process. And if we are in a kind of loving place, even if we're struggling and we're just doing the best that we can, but we know that's enough, I'm telling you something, when you go out in the world, people will pick up on that, and it's almost like the universe will send people to help you, to support you in your quest for more self-love and self-care. So the movement is away from this, our society still feeds into this narcissistic world of me, myself and I. Social media is the platform for a lot of that, but there's a lot of people that want to move out of that. They want to move out into a place of acceptance, of strong, solid foundations, not of fake masks, of energy that is it's not even energy actually, it's behaviour that's not true, and into much more grounded, earthy, aware energy. Right, okay, brilliant. Right, so I don't know where we're up to on time actually, I'm just going to check. Gosh, nearly an hour. This is not a short reading again. So now I asked the archetypes that might be showing up around this Piscean full moon. Interesting, we got the Queen, then that came second, Femme Fatale, then we got Don Juan. This is so interesting, isn't it? And then we got the Beggar. Wow, so this is so interesting. So this could be playing out in romantic relationships first. So say, doesn't matter, this is not gender specific as always in all my readings, but the Queen energy is like, she's the divine feminine. She holds court, she knows what's best for herself and those around her, and often they'll say like the Queen will keep her enemies closer, because she doesn't like ghost people or anything like that. She'll actually hold them in the court. She won't be fake to them, but she also won't stand their nonsense either. She'll keep them at bay. So it's almost like she's always got the upper hand, and people might think she might be playing a power play, when actually the whole way through with the Queen, she's thinking about the bigger picture, what's best for her community. But this could be playing out in relationships, and this could be an example. But when you look at these cards, see what you feel yourself, because I think it's really good for whoever's watching the video to tune into that. So we've got, it says on it, radiates the regal feminine, uses her benevolent authority to protect others. So it could be that you feel like you're holding this energy in your own space at the moment. So you are a person that isn't to be messed with. Like, you know yourself, you know what's right, you know what's wrong. You've got a very clear, definitive moral compass. You know what your values are. And then the femme fatale, so this is like somebody that uses their physicality or their, I don't even want to say charisma, they use their sexual energy to, and even I'm hearing from above, they're almost like childlike innocence, even though they're an adult. They're not behaving like one. So it says here, highlights the erotic energy, the feminine, opens your heart when your dependency is rejected. So with this, it could be that for the divine feminine energy, that there's an opening up of her erotic energy around this Pisces full moon. So it could be being back in touch. Because the thing is, archetypes are neither good or bad. They're neutral. They're archetypes. They're not here. They're here to teach us. They're here to help us grow. They're not here to judge us or to put us in a box. But we are born with a fundamental group of archetypes, and we all hold the main five, which is the child, the prostitute, the victim, and there's two more. It'll come back to me. I've forgotten this because this is from ages ago when I did archetypes. And we all have these, and they all get triggered at a certain point, and it's not what the name you think they actually are, how they play out in life. But the femme fatale is almost like maybe an awakening of that, almost like Venusian energy that's been lacking for some time. You know, we've been locked down, we've been held back, we've had to just close off into this familiarity, like almost like breeze content energy. You know, many people were forced into survival mechanisms, and it's almost like there's an awakening with this Pisces energy, which is actually really lovely, into not rejecting your erotic side anymore. And this, you know, for men and for women, that there's an awakening that actually there's a part of myself here that's gone back to sleep, and I would like this to be awakened up. But also this, we could be seeing this collectively where people are relying on their erotic side to get what they want, and that doesn't always work. It's only like, because at the end of the day, intelligence, wisdom and charisma it's ageless. So I feel like this is also a cycle that people are just not buying into anymore, which is this use of sexuality to sell shit. It just, do you know what I mean? People are just getting a bit bored of it, because what happens is that constant stimulus numbs people out. Because actually what the and I'm saying this even though I know it's not like, that's not directly femme fatale energy, that's more the prostitute energy actually. But I'm not calling anybody a prostitute, I'm just saying that's actually what it is. It's a neutral energy. But the femme fatale is knowing that you don't need to do that. You have it in you, but you don't need it to use it to get what you want. And the reason I'm saying this is just the next two cards are Don Juan, and which is spotlights your positive seductive qualities, and the beggar, which confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, awakens a spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem. So you see, the beggar can come on a person's path to engage with them, that there's another way to get their survival needs met. And it means coming from a place of self-esteem, because physical survival will always push us into desperation and places where we feel we've got to go. Whereas this is for the pure of enjoyment with this card. So there's like an awakening here with this, because Piscean energy is very flowing. It's obviously watery. It's very creative as well, because Pisces is a dreamer. It goes into the realms I don't think anyone else can go. So Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So if you think Pisceans have already gone through all the energies of Aries. So if you think Aries is at the start, so Aries is about to learn all the 12 energies of the 12 signs. And Pisces has already been there, done it, and worn the t-shirt. But Pisces doesn't behave like that. I'm just saying this not as a Pisces sun, guys. When I talk about the astrology energies, I talk about, you know, you could have loads of Pisces energy. It could be your main energetic sign in your chart, because you've got 5 planets in Pisces, but not one of them is the sun. So, you know, it's like Pisces has a lot more figured out than what you know. Don't ever think it doesn't know what it's doing and it's just daydreaming and it's all a bit, everything's up in the sky. It's actually been through the majority of the lessons, and it's actually just here to remind people of how important a connection to spirit and something greater than themselves is, where the joy lives. But also it's that complete transcendental experience. It's like Pisces is constantly reaching for that because it understands it more than any other sign. But also it's why Pisces can have such an addictive nature, because it's trying to mimic that transcendental experience all the time. So with this, it's to do, you know, Pisces is ruled by Venus. Venus obviously is a sign of love. So here with Don Juan, it's like, it's showing, yes, you've got the ability to seduce and be a romantic, but the other side of it is using it for a private agenda. Do you know, it's really funny, but this is making me laugh a bit, but I actually feel that Boris Johnson has got that archetype. I do. I think, like, you know, this almost like buffoon kerfuffle type person with his hair, he's utilised that as a means with his charisma, with women, with, you know, bless him. You know, it's there. I'm not criticising. I don't think it's bad or good or anything. Like, I just see this energy that he's used that in the past. But if we put all these energies together, so the Queen sees what's going on. She's the divine feminine authority. And we got the King before. We've got the femme fatale again. This is in the shadow aspect, is what the archetype is teaching somebody to learn, is in an inappropriate use of sensuality, attachment to money and power. So again, like, if we think about this playing out, it's so apt, because on the collective, it's this, you know, what are we seeing? It's always power plays. It's always to do with money. We're being shown there's never enough. You've got to go into survival mode. And again, Don Juan is using the power of romantic attraction for private agendas. So it's where people will use money, sex and power to manipulate. And gosh, I mean, I suppose when you put it together like that, it makes absolute sense. But again, it's how people, I think people are waking up to this, that the old ways of doing things, the old programs, there's only so much of that you can have where you need more and more. It's addictive. It's a way to hook people in. That, I don't know, it just ties into, I'm hearing like dopamine response. And what happens is it's a bit like an addict. You need more and more and more each time. And actually, no, not everybody has the addict archetype. I can't remember what they are. It'll come back to me. But, you know, a lot of people wake up to that on the spiritual path, and they know that it's something they've got to face, because you can only go so far to connect with yourself. Because if you are trying to mimic this on a personal level in your own life, it's going to hinder your ability to connect. And, you know, I never believed that. I used to say, like, myself, oh, yeah, but I can, you know, I'm a bit of a rebel, and I am. But when I used to smoke, but I have to say, when I connect in with spirit, is that smoke screen is gone. So that things will hinder, toxins and chemicals, they do hinder the ability to connect, because you're not connecting with yourself. There's a conscious conflict within you that's not allowing you to connect with the pure intelligence of your heart and in being really present with yourself. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because it will trigger them, but I have to say the truth. You know, my messages and the way I teach are about truth, and that's just how it goes. Yeah, so I'm just pulling out the main archetypes here. So there's different types of child archetypes as well. I mean, they're all different. And let's have a look. I don't know why I want to do this, but see me, I'm just not letting things go, am I? Yeah, it's so let's have a look. I love doing these archetype cards, because maybe I'll just do a reading on these, or I'll go through them one day and I'll just show you what they're like, because they're so interesting and they give you a massive understanding of learning in your life. Yeah, I don't think she's got the main ones, because normally it's the child, the victim, the prostitute, and I don't know, there's two other. Anyway, I'll probably put it in the comments box below, guys. Yeah, there's the prostitute. Oh, that's it, the saboteur. 2, 3, there's one more, it'll come to me. Not the rescuer. Not the healer or the rebel. Advocate, the hermit. It's around here somewhere. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, we've all got the saboteur as well, guys. So we've all got the ability to sabotage ourselves. The prostitute accentuates the challenge of surviving without negotiating the power of your spirit. So this is like, if I just say this, it's where you sell out in your life. The child, there's loads of different archetypes of the child. There's the wounded child, there's the magical child, there's the nature child, the child divine, there's the victim, because they've all got the ability to feel victimised. But you see, the victim will turn up in your life where you'll feel victimised, and the victim turns up to say to you, you're actually not victimised. You have the ability to pick yourself up from this situation. So this is what I'm saying about archetypes. They're not negative or positive. They're just brilliant, because what they do is they actually show you. They turn up to teach you at the right point on the path. Right, guys, so I'm going to leave it there. If you want to like and subscribe, please do. I'm not a new channel, I've just never been on here, but it'd be lovely to grow my channel and have more people on here and connect with more people. So if you'd like to support my work, if you want to join my Facebook group, which is really private, I'm more than happy to add people in, and once you're in there you can add people in yourself, and it's just about turning up and watching videos at your leisure. But listen, have an amazing full moon tomorrow. I'll load this up and I will see you on the other side, and hope it's very cleansing, very loving, helps you to connect to maybe some hidden away parts of yourself, whatever they may be. And I will be back soon with another video. All right, guys, sending lots of love. Take good care of yourselves.